We're live.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hey, everyone, how you doing?
How's everyone doing tonight?
Enjoyed the video.
Well, good.
Worked long and hard on that.
Yeah, that took me some time to do.
So
I was freaking out pretty bad, Randy, here.
Uh-oh.
I had just saved the video, and all of a sudden our power went out.
Well, that's the problem with these storms. You never know. You're doing something and the power goes out. You don't need to be.
Yeah. Mark was over here going, calm down. It's coming back on. Calm down. So
Good.
Let's say hello to some people in the chat.
I see regular Susan, Lynn,
Yep.
Tracy, and Diana.
Yep. Diana's here.
hey, Raggedy
Welcome.
Sue. Hi, Diane.
Welcome,
hey, Tracy.
Hey,
Hi,
Jill.
Lynn. Hey, Jill.
Missed Randy's live, had to work.
Yeah, well, I played a little bit of his trivia earlier.
I'm always getting these people who, it's like either they don't get the notifications or want to come on. So it's awful when can't get those people to get the notifications.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Jill.
And so there's Boston.
Hi, Boston. Yeah, this part of it just started. Nope, we're not having a windstorm. It's
Rain.
rain. We had freezing rain last night and regular rain tonight. So did everybody get to see the premiere of the video for part 2? I was away from the house when Randy was live. Yep. Well, we're going to start our discussion then on part 2, the video. Frank Meister, you want to start?
Yeah, why not? Well, we came out with part 2 due to the fact is, like on part 1, we had discussed the history of Delphi, and there was gold in the river, in the creek, and everything like that. And it was still mind-boggling me what was so important about the land. So I kept on researching. And then I finally called Randy, and he was like, man, I have a feeling that something is tied to Flannel Shirt Guy and his land. And I came to him and I said, guess what I found? I said, I found the connection between the bombs and Flannel Shirt Guy. And that's where we started. And me
Randy,
and him.
Randy, what was your thoughts when he told you that?
I was surprised. It's like I start looking in the history back and seeing, okay, the Bombs, the Ballards, and McCains were technically the ones who started Delphi, Indiana, a long time ago. They own a lot of land back then, so and they knew how to do business, and it's just interesting just knowing, leading up to what we know today, that it's possible that the McCains is trying to get back the land that they used to own at the beginning of Delphi.
Yeah. Frank, what are your thoughts?
I was pretty much thinking the same thing. There's a lot of money that's involved with that land right there near the Monon Bridge. I mean, considering the old gravel pit falls right on Ron Logan's property, makes a lot of sense, because you got to realize back in the early settler days, the gravel pit was where they went and panned gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and over the years, as time went by, the old settlers moved out and new things started moving in. The gravel pit got basically covered with trees, the greenery growing over it and everything. So you can't really tell it's a gravel pit anymore. But like I said to you, the 1962 map, I had to verify to make sure it was a legit map. So I called the Department of Interior for the United States and spoke with somebody out of their surveying department. And sure enough, it was a correct map. But I wanted to see if there was an up-to-date map from that map from 1962. And sure enough, they gave me a link. They sent me to, and I found one for 2019. And you can't even tell the gravel pit was there because everything had overgrown over the top of it.
Yep.
And I pinpointed, like I circled where the cemetery was on the old map. And then I did it with the second map, and they all lined up together. And I'm like, I'll be damned. This falls right on Ron Logan's property.
Yep.
And who would know Ron Logan's property better than anybody?
And the McKeans.
And who else?
And the people like the Mears would have known. And then you got the family history. Whoever owned back then would know all these different areas who owned the property.
But the professor would also know because he's an archaeologist and he would want to dig up those artifacts, if anything.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, considering he was supposedly 1.25 miles away from the kill site, it's just mind-boggling to me that there's reports out there that he was out there at that dig site at the Bombs Landing at the day, and then turn around and people are saying he was teaching a lecture at the college. So that's one of the alibis that we can't verify.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I put in the video, why is it if he was doing a lecture at the college that night or at the bomb landing site, you would think you would have a number of people giving him an alibi.
Exactly.
And you don't hear anything for an alibi for him for that day. It's like he went completely dark that day.
Yeah, he no longer has a Facebook account. I can't find him on geocaching accounts or anything anymore.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he distanced himself from that whole situation right after it happened.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And then you
and
got...
Randy,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I said, and Randy, and like you had mentioned, he had the geocache box right by the trail.
Right.
And that wasn't turned over to police. He took that home, contaminated it, then offered it up to police.
Yeah, he knew there was a murder, and he should have not touched it. And it just, now they couldn't take it because he contaminated it, and it's...
I mean, by the geocaching accounts, it was pretty obvious that the professor had some type of, I don't want to say feelings, or something toward Kelsey. That was plain as day.
Yeah, like an infatuation with her.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, and he got divorced in February of 2015 from his wife. So, and like rumors going around that Kelsey resembled his ex-wife, which I saw a picture of his ex-wife, and yes, I see a little bit of resemblance. The ex-wife has darker hair, though. Yeah. The only difference. Right. So, did that make him upset? We don't know.
We're always hearing stories in some of these crimes and murders that the killer looks for victims to look like their wives or girlfriends.
Right.
And that's where they go kind of berserk.
Yes. And if you watch, I don't know if either one of you watch it, but I watched the profiler John Kelly. And when he was doing his profile, you know, he's got many videos on it, but that's one of the things that he talked about was, you know, did the girls remind him of somebody close to him and things like that. And then the whole wife came up, you know, the resemblance to the wife came up. And so it made me think, was Kelsey actually the target that day? Did he think that he could get Kelsey to the bridge by getting Libby to go tell her, let's go geocaching? And that's just not how it worked out? Or, you know, there's a ton of questions I have.
Oh, like They say Abby had a sense of danger, and Libby would have the same thing, a sense of danger of something's not right. So if Kelsey had the same thing, and knowing that, okay, I need to stay far away from this dude, knowing that he's following every time I find a geocaching box, all you see is his name next to hers. It seems like he follows her.
Yeah. Well, it seems like whatever geocache she went for or went after, he was shortly behind her.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Kind of spooky in a way to me. Kind of creepy.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Just like the audio they supposedly released saying that is that creepy guy still following us.
Right.
You know. But I mean, and then to look back and say, well, me and Randy had this discussion about the land right in that area.
Mm-hmm.
We had this discussion about, well, Governor Holcomb gave the city of Delphi for the trail improvement and the bridge improvement $1.4 million, but none of that money was ever spent toward the bridge or the trails. Where did the money go? Okay. And then again, like Bruce brought to my attention again, how many times has the city council denied the trails committee funds to upgrade the trails?
Right.
Okay. Now, if they're going to keep denying, our theory was like, well, if you're going to keep denying us, we're going to get this money somehow.
Right.
What a motive. Just kill 2 people on a property. Well, we need the money now for safety issues on that trail.
Right. So, charismatically clever, you had a question. So the police never checked the geocache box. No, they did not.
No, because when they were checking the crime scene at the bridge, and I know it was there all the time. It's like, all right, why don't you come all the way back this way? This is part of the crime scene, but they didn't. And you have the professor has this box. It's like, oh, come on. You should have had looked through the whole entire trail.
Exactly. And the major portion of the trail, they never even went down and looked at. The police didn't. Yeah, so they missed the geocaching box and any other clues that may have been on that actual trail that day or the following day because they never looked.
And we got 5 people that's involved with geocaching that we know of.
Right.
DM Squared, CM, Kelsey, and Libby.
Right.
So this is how we're tying things together right now. It is just, it's only sense it makes, and excuse me, I don't want to say that, but for Flannel Shirt Guy to divert DG away from the bridge, kind of suspicious to me.
Right. And Randy, that's what I wanted to talk to you about because we got a lot of information from you. You had said that DM admitted that he was at the bridge at 3 p.m. and that he was walking away from the bridge when Cheyenne and her friend would have come towards the bridge.
Yeah. And the problem is with this, okay, the flannel shirt guy says later on the killer passed him before Derek arrived. Then you have Cheyenne passing the flannel shirt, but Cheyenne's taking photos on the bridge, and she would have surely got a photo of the killer walking out of the Mears property. Why didn't she see that?
And why didn't Derek see him?
Yeah, why didn't Derek see him? And if there was other people at the Freedom Bridge area, why didn't they see him? They would have saw him get into a car from the welfare office, if it was, or any other cars parking there. But somewhere along the line, especially Cheyenne, if there was clothes floating in the Deer Creek, she would have saw those clothes floating in the creek.
See, that's what really intrigues me is that the interview with one of the Indiana State Police sergeants said that they did a complete search of that creek on the 13th and didn't find anything. But mysteriously, the next day, they find undergarments and a shoe underneath
and the phone.
And the phone,
and everything right there at the south end of the bridge on the Weaver property.
Yeah, and then some clothes underneath the bridge.
Right, it doesn't add up.
How is that?
And
good. That's a good question.
I still say why? Okay, because the family went over on Kay Weber's site, asked to see if they can search the land over there. And they were on top of the hill talking to Brad to see if he can let them search because the girls were missing. They can automatically saw from Kay Weber's hill over to Ron Logan's land to saw the girls right there and then. How could they?
Well, you would have thought they would have seen the shoe at the bottom by the river if they really searched all of that.
If they said, okay, the shoe is on the driveway and the phone was on the driveway, you would have saw it.
Right.
And if the family was on top of that hill or Kay Weber's house on the drive, you can see across the way. Why would you want to not take an opportunity to see if they're over there? And should have been found right there and then.
And there's only probably 3 people, maybe 4 at the most, that would have known that Kay was on vacation and Ron Logan wasn't home.
Yeah.
And now, like me and Randy discussed in previous conversations, we believe that Ron was basically lured from his house. That's how we feel. Because he knew that he wasn't supposed to be driving, he wasn't supposed to be drinking. And it's awful funny that somebody ratted him out when he got home that day.
Mm-hmm. And this was at 6 o'clock.
Right. So,
yeah.
And it almost sounds like they knew if he got in trouble, he violated his probation and he'd end up in prison, which is exactly what happened. But the judge had a change of heart and said, hey, we don't want you to lose your property, so we're going to put you on house arrest. Okay. Well, whoever killed the girls, we got a suspicion who it is, but whoever killed the girls, their plan failed.
Right.
They were thinking he was going to sit in jail, and it didn't happen that way.
Yeah.
So my question is this a big mastermind plan of 3 gentlemen to get a 4th person involved and actually hands-on did the murder?
That's what I'm thinking.
And somebody wants to keep their hands clean and let the other guys fall for it.
You got to remember, both DM Squared are both power heads out of Delphi. One is the president of the Wabash Erie Canal Board, and the other is the president of Deer Creek Township Trustee Board. How much more power do you want? Plus, just to come to find out that another family member of theirs just became police chief at Delphi. More power in the family name.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is with the timeline with Flannel Shirt Guy, it does not add up.
No, not at all. Not at all. If he says he saw BG, Cheyenne should have saw him too, or seen him too.
Right. Or Derek should have.
Exactly.
And Derek was looking, but like I said, if I was Derek, I would have gone to the bridge.
Yes.
Because Flannel Shirt Guy says, well, there's 2 girls on the bridge. I would have gone there first. Once I got the north end of the bridge, I can see if they're the girls playing around down below where the creek is, where the cement is broken off from the main foundation. If I suspect, okay, they got hurt playing around, I can see them down below. And then, of course, there will be Cheyenne and her girlfriend on the bridge.
Hey, I want to comment to Bruce real quick. Hey, Bruce. Hey, buddy. I respect your comment here, but the way we look at things, I've talked to Randy on numerous occasions about this. If Ron Logan is standing at his bay window in the kitchen, he could see straight down on his property in the woods. Okay. So somebody knew that he wasn't there in order to commit this crime.
Because they would have to. Ron Logan would see somebody jumping the gate from the cemetery, walking towards where the bottom of the hill is. But he can't see the bottom of the hill, but he can see the tree line where somebody can jump the fence from the cemetery to walk that way. And he would have called police. Right away.
Oh, yeah. And Anna here, she says, I don't see why double homicide would have been a necessary part of a plan to take Ron Logan out of the picture. Oh, of course. He's sitting on a gold mine. And you got to remember, DM Squared's family owned that property when the settlers first moved in. And they know exactly what's there. It's a gold mine there. His property is worth a lot of money.
Yeah,
and plus you got all the artifacts on his property too from when the first settlers moved in also. That's something that the professor would love. He's got a benefit for that. And if you take Ron Logan out of the picture, that benefits DM Squared.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and how many times were DM Squared out there at the same time? I just find it suspicious that one brother's at the bridge, one brother's in the cemetery.
Yeah.
You would think if they were going to visit their parents' graves, they would go together to do that.
Yeah.
You know,
it's hey, if we're here, we'll both go. It's like it's almost one cares about their parents and the other doesn't. But we know that we found the original McCain cemetery, and me and Shane was talking to why didn't their parents bury them in the original cemetery of the McCains?
Yeah,
right. All of the other McCains are buried in the family cemetery except for DM Squared's parents.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the cemetery by the bridge,
which is Memorial Gardens, right, Randy?
Yes, in the Memorial Gardens.
Yeah.
Because you face where they're buried at the bottom of the cemetery hill, and you'll be facing where the old gravel pit was.
Right.
Now you got to remember, Bruce, we're thinking outside the box and things that may have happened. We can't say for sure this is what happened, but this is a theory that we have, and this is what we're talking about right now.
It basically boils down to greed, Bruce.
Greed and power.
Yep. Greed and power. And see, Jill, I agree with you, Jill. Just like Randy was saying, if you're standing at the top of the hill in the driveway, you could see straight down to where the girls were found. Now, how anybody could see that when they were doing the search on the 13th, I have no clue what people were doing or what they were looking at.
Right. So in all reality, if anybody was standing up there on that hill by the Weber house, and they looked across the river, they should have seen those girls, and those girls should have been found right away.
Yeah, especially if you were standing on top of the hill of Ron Logan's property, you can see the whole bottom of the hill where the girls were laying at. You would be would found them because it was daylight still at that time.
Right.
And I just don't understand how people say, well, we didn't see them.
Right.
It's like, what are they, an invisible coat or something on them? It would be hard for somebody to bring them back of whatever they did to these girls.
Right.
And then we're going to bring up this Krampus guy.
Oh, yeah.
This demon dude. It is not a coincidence, and anybody can argue with me all they want. It's not going to change my mind or my opinion. It is not a coincidence that this Krampus demon, whatever, used birchwood as his punishment tool on bad kids. Not a coincidence that the girls were found deceased in a birchwood area, and for Libby to be covered up with birchwood leaves and twigs, it is not a coincidence, people. That is not a coincidence. Unless somebody knew that Professor was involved with Krampus, there's no logical explanation whatsoever.
Right. And okay, so going back to CM, we realized that the 2019 press conference was at the location where CM's pamphlet was sold.
Yeah, I was there.
Yep.
They used the term hiding in plain sight, which we know is a geocaching term. The police do everything strategically. So were they giving us clues and we weren't just picking up on them till now?
And see, that's what I think happened is when True Crime Jesus did these videos over 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden the catfishing and the Keegan Klein thing popped up. Everybody just threw what True Crime Jesus had been talked about, threw it to the side and jumped on the bandwagon with the catfishing. And the catfishing ain't led nobody anywhere. Just speculation.
Now, Bruce, Kay Weber's son was house sitting for her. So, yes, there was someone home watching Kay Weber's house and property.
And then for Brad Weaver to just show up around 3 o'clock in the time frame of the girl's murders, driving up the driveway, that'd make you look suspicious too. And like I said, I've watched that video of BG walking 1,000 times. You could see that he's not putting a whole lot of pressure on his left leg or left foot. And we all know that Brad Weaver is missing a left big toe on his left foot, which is going to affect your balance, your walk. So I'm just putting facts, things that I've noticed out there.
But we know that Brad Weber was supposed to watch the property while Kay was on vacation. So there was somebody watching her property.
But he was conveniently gone from the house during this time too.
Yeah. Hey, Jill, what was the hours he worked that day?
That is when he got home from work. Okay. So, Jill, can you tell us what time he actually worked that day? So, I'm assuming if it was like a 7 to
3 or 7 to 4 shift.
Well, no, because if he's driving down the private drive at 3, it had to have been like a 7 to 2, 7 to 2:30 shift or something, or even earlier, I guess 5 to 2:30 or something.
But like I said, anybody goes down where the gate is, there's a house right there. They would have to open that gate or unlock that gate to get on to that private drive. Oh, he worked from 6 to 2:30 p.m.
6 to 2:30. Okay, that makes sense.
So there's a house right there that watches that road. That's the only house, and they can see the gate they have to go through. If the gate is locked, no one won't be able to go through driving. Brad and the family would be the ones who be able to unlock that gate, and no one else would.
Okay.
The bottom line is whoever committed this crime had to have known the properties very, very well.
Yeah.
Very well. In order to get across that bridge, down the first hill, across the private drive, down the hill to the creek, and then up onto Ron Logan's property, they knew exactly where they were taking them, where they couldn't be seen.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. The circle and star lands directly on the Weber property.
What?
Oh, hold on. Miss Kay wasn't even home, man.
Kay was on vacation in Arizona. She got a phone call, probably from her son or the police, to notify, hey, we had a murder. We need to check your property. And that's why she came back right away.
So grismatically, what do you mean by the circle and star lands directly on the Weber property? They mapped it out, in my opinion.
Yeah, Kay Weber didn't have dogs at all.
Yeah, no.
So I think people get so much confused, Jill, of where that dog lady came from, and people keeps coming up with Kay Weber's house, and there's no dogs on her property.
Right, they got to realize that off of the south end of the bridge, if you go through the woods, there's another house back there.
Yeah, there's a house to the
But
right.
Kay Weber's is off to the side by that private drive.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. So the rumors of the lady that walked the dog and saw him earlier, that would have been from behind the bridge. So it's two different houses.
We are answering Anna's question.
Yeah. So no, it was not Mrs. Weber who allegedly spoke with the bridge guy when she was walking her dogs.
Let's correct this real quick. It's not Weber no more. Her last name is Sanders.
Weber and Sanders. But everybody knows her last name.
Yeah.
It's Weber. And she married Sanders.
Is down the hill on south side of bridge? I forget. Yes.
Yes.
Down the hill is on the south side.
If you're facing south, it'd be on the left-hand side to go down the hill. The walking dog lady story is suspect anyway. Claim to know about the lady, whoever she was. Well, the dog lady so far is not real truth at this point, because she tells two different stories, and we believe she never saw the real killer.
Because her first story was that she just let the dogs out the back door to let them go to the bathroom. And the next story she came out with, well, she decided to walk her dogs toward the south end of the bridge.
Yeah.
And supposedly ran into BG, but no verification on that either.
Yeah, we cannot confirm any of that. Just like we can't confirm Flannel Shirt Guy's story about seeing BG.
We know Libby was putting up a fight against the killer.
Yes.
We know that. It would take 3 or 4 people just hold her down, as big as she was.
Yeah, you gotta realize that, Libby may have been 14 years old, but her size, her muscle strength and everything, she was probably more the size of an 18-year-old at that point, right?
She played a lot of sports.
Right.
Softball, swimming, anything she pumped.
Volleyball.
Volleyball. So basically she was building up her muscles.
Yep.
And she did have defensive wounds on her body.
So we have a question here. Could she have been running for help up to Ron's?
Well, it'd be running from the killer, because he would have fell down on that hill, because there's tons of leaves on that side of that hill. He would have slipped and fell, because it's real easy to slide on that hill with all those leaves. So he could have fled, and the girls had an opportunity to start running towards Ron Logan's house.
Right.
And my theory is that he killed Abby first, and Libby was the main target.
Well, that's always been my thought, that somehow he incapacitated Libby.
Right.
Or not Libby, but Abby, because she was the smaller of the two. and it could be done quickly.
Right.
And then he went after Libby. And Abby may not have actually perished at that time. He may have finished that off after he killed Libby, but it was to the point where Abby couldn't do anything to help.
Yeah. Because if you look at Abby, she doesn't have the strength like Libby has.
Yeah, she was a very little petite young lady.
Right.
You know,
if she was built with like Libby, man, he would have been knocked down and out.
And see the only problem that I'm having, we've discussed this on many different occasions. If you scream, you're going to hear the echoes in that valley right there.
Yeah, you sure will.
Yep.
So for somebody not to hear, if the girls scream, somebody would have heard it.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be a scream. It just has to be a talking loud. It echoes, you know.
Because,
you know, even if they yelled at them and didn't actually scream, you know, but either way, somebody would have heard that.
There was
because
like
that echoes all around there.
Yeah, we had me on the bridge. We had Frank, the drone guy. He heard Jill Melvin screaming. So there's two people on that bridge heard her scream, where the girls were running across the water area at that time. And then one time with Anthony, he was talking to Kay Weber, and I had a red shirt on, and she saw me on top of the hill. She saw me standing over the north end, and she asked Anthony, "Who's that guy over there?" He said, "Well, that's Randy."
Charismatically, I agree with you. There is more than just one person involved. There's several people involved in this murder.
Mm-hmm. It has to be. And for trying to hold Libby, yeah, there's got to be more than two or three at least. And if they had to lift Libby, they would have to take three of those to carry her to somewhere to be dropped off, because one guy just can't pull her to where the kill zone is.
Jill, yes, I agree. There was more than one person. Somebody was watching your cousin's mom's house at the time. I do agree with that, and that's why we keep bringing up the flannel shirt guy and his brother as lookouts, because it only makes sense. He's at the end of the bridge at 3:00, and we know that the girls perished somewhere in between 2:25 and 2:45.
Yeah,
somewhere in that area.
2:20, 2:25. If the girls ran, so from 2:15, that's when it got started. About 2:20, 2:25, it would be over with. And he would have been gone way before 3:00.
Right.
So about 2:30, 2:35, he would have been gone. He doesn't want to stick around.
Right. Any common sense person is going to commit a crime like that does not want to stick around at all.
Yeah.
Especially in broad daylight.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, most of your people that commit murders, they're going to do it under the cover of darkness where they're not being seen. Mm-hmm. So this person knew there was nobody around, nobody at the Weber house. Ron Logan wasn't home. Somebody knew that these people weren't going to be home.
And they knew the girls were off that day.
Yes.
So what was the significance with Libby being their target? Why her?
She resembles her sister. Because if you look at a picture side by side of Libby and Kelsey, you can tell they're definitely sisters.
Because if you have Carrie there, you could look and tell they have resemblance to Carrie.
Yes.
And then really, it's strange.
It's Sandy. It's not Weaver's, son. It's Weber. Weber.
Weber. It's Weber.
How many ways can you enter the trail?
There's only one way to enter the trail. If he dropped off where the original drop-off point was, that way, and you park at the Freedom Bridge, you enter from that way too. But if somebody parked in the cemetery, you can cut across the mayor's property to get to north end of the bridge without being seen. So there's only one way, but if somebody wanted to kill somebody, that would be another way, because an old Marine told me about that. And I did the photo of going film it through there from the north end of the bridge to the cemetery.
Yes, and Anna, Ellie has said the bridge guy is responsible for the crime, but they didn't call him the killer when they said that.
And you know what's so convenient is after all the murders took place, Chief Mullen resigned his position as the chief of Delphi Police, and then within 4 or 5 months, Shane Evans resigns his position as the mayor to take up the prosecutor's position. How convenient! It's like they're trying to take themselves out of the investigation.
Yeah.
And now it's a Grizzly Matic. I got a theory on the vehicle at the CPS building. The only photo they have is a satellite image, and you can't tell if it's a vehicle or not. It could be a pile of snow sitting up there like that, because it had been snowing there in Delphi a day or two prior to that.
And it snowed really good from January to up the time through the murder. It snowed lightly on Sunday on the 12th, but all the other times it snowed like crazy. Nobody was ever to get out. We had roads closed, school closing at the time. So it was pretty off and on with snow coming in.
So what car are they saying was at the cemetery?
Pat Brown's.
That was a truck. So
his truck, yeah.
Okay.
And if you think about it, if you see a picture of Pat Brown, he is way bigger than BG. Way bigger.
But they're not,
go ahead.
They're at this point, the welfare office where the car sat, they're not saying it's part of this case. So people keep on saying, "Oh, that's part of the case." Like, no, it's not. That's not what the Indiana State Police said. That's not part of this case until it's confirmed. So they haven't got the car or the person. If the person comes along and says, "Hey, that was me parked there. I was in the search, but not part of the killing." So we don't know about that car.
And see, Sandy and Pat Brown was making a comment. He lost his keys or his truck. We don't know exactly the circumstances when it comes to Pat Brown. He says he lost his keys, but then there's another rumor saying that he couldn't get the truck started or something.
Couldn't get the truck started. So those are the two rumors there.
Okay.
And see, another thing is that Toby did not check the cemetery before entering the cemetery for the search party to go from there.
So any evidence that would have been there would have been lost because
they contaminated. Everybody drove
drove in and parked and walked all over it.
Yep.
Hey, Boston, you asked how big BG is. Honestly, nobody really knows how big BG is. You can't speculate just from a video how big he is. They're just speculating he's around 5'10", 5'11", maybe 200 pounds. They really don't know. Because if you look at the picture of BG, you can see he's got several layers of clothing on.
To hide different items, knives, guns, whatever.
Right, exactly.
He was ready to kill somebody that day.
Well, of course, Bruce... Yeah, the police have never said anything, but they're not gonna release information if there's more than one person.
Well, and Bruce, you got to remember, if you look back at Doug Carter's most recent interviews, he said they a couple of times.
Yeah.
He did not say he said they. So I think in the beginning they were trying to keep it under wraps and say that it was only one person speaking on the video and everything to make us think it was one person. But he has slipped most recently and said they.
There, over the times when he's on these different talk shows, he flips certain things out.
Yes.
Including at the crime con. He slips some things out there. So being tired all the time, you get some certain things slipped out by him that nobody knew.
And yes, they did recently just change the weight.
And that was just within the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Police have made a number of statements that indicate they are considering more than one person committing the crime. Yes, they have.
Yeah. So hopefully whoever the guy is, be able to get him confessed of who the other people knew that day.
And see, I'm starting to believe if the DM squares have that much power, they have enough power to cover anything up. Especially when your own relative is the police chief of Delphi.
Boston, they changed the weight. They in the beginning, didn't they say it was like 200 to 220?
Yes.
And now they're saying it could be 190 to 200 or
180 to 200.
180 to 200. Okay. Drop the phone.
All right, Marky. Don't tear up nothing, bro.
I've dropped it way too many times at this point.
And how much money has your mom had to spend to fix everything?
None. Surprisingly.
That's what a good phone case will do.
Let's see, Bruce. An interesting statement by police was something like, everyone assumes the voice on the audio was Big G, but they might not be. So, my own opinion, there's not sure that they... See, now, with the audio, I have a problem with the audio because I took a 4-year college preparatory course for radio broadcasting, and I learned how to edit and add stuff into tapes and take stuff out of tapes. Now, the first audio they came out with was so garbled you could barely understand what was being said. And then when it came out with the second part of the audio, it was cleared up. But the problem that I had with it is when he says guys, there's a hesitation in between guys, maybe 2 to 3 seconds. Then he says down the hill. That was an indication to me that the audio had been audited.
Like they spliced it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that you could hear guys and then down the hill.
Right. Because if you listen to all the other audios, all you hear is down the hill.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they clean it up. You can hear him say guys. That doesn't add up to me.
Well, and it's, I've always heard go down the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's at the beginning. We heard go down the hill a lot of times until they add the guys into the audio.
Right.
Right.
So it sounds like to me what they did is they believe they've interviewed the person they're looking for. And they automatic when they do interviews, they tape it on audio. And they just took a clip of what he said and put it in with the audio that was on Libby's phone. That's what I believe is taking place. So they can give somebody to think they might know that voice. And I compared that voice with the professor, and it's very, I couldn't tell no difference.
Oh, see, I don't know that I remember here. I probably have heard his voice, but I've heard so many voices, I don't remember which one is his.
Well, I said did the interview on our news station that his voice will be the one to get him. If due to the photo they sketched, we can't go by that anymore. It's his voice. Hey, Colette, how you doing? But yeah, his voice is going to catch him. If he's on any of those interviews or be on other interviews like from News Channel 18, they're watching all this.
I agree.
And I would have to. And as far as Keegan Klein, he's not your BG. He is not your BG. And everybody can talk all. No, I don't think he is either. I mean, if he weighed over 300 pounds at the time, there was no way that it was BG. He was BG.
He would have if he was in Peru at the time, he would have to be driving fast to get to that bridge before the girls. He would have had to know what time the girls was going to ride, but nobody knew what time Living Alley was going to be there. And that's the other problem. Ken Klein and his dad would not be able to make it in time.
Right.
So how far is Peru from Delphi?
Let me get here. Let me check that.
I think it's like 45 minutes.
Let me look. Google Map. Hold on.
Hold on, I'll be able to tell you. How far is Peru, Indiana from Delphi, Indiana?
The drive from Delphi to Peru
40 minutes.
7.7 miles.
It's 40 minutes.
Okay.
So it would take him a while to get there. So if he knew that the girls were leaving, hi Crime Greek, how you doing? He would have me driving real fast to get there.
Right.
He would be trying to run through those trees and whatnot to get to the drop off point. He would be out of breath. Same way for his dad. It'd be pretty much the same way. But he would still be seen by Flannel Shirt Guy, his brother, and whoever else was out there at that time.
Right.
And my question is, and I don't like bringing her up because I know she has nothing to do with this, but why would Kelsey be deleting apps and things off Libby's phone a week prior to the incident taking place? Is there something that Kelsey's seen on her phone and was like, oh no, you're not doing this, and deleting apps?
Now that I have not heard that Kelsey deleted anything off of her phone a week prior. The only thing I heard is that a week prior,
she had a factory.
they factory reset the phone. I didn't hear anything about Kelsey taking things off of. I've heard things about Kelsey removing things off of her Twitter or her Facebook after the murders, but nothing beforehand.
So it's very interesting why they reset her phone.
Oh, I would agree.
It almost makes me feel like that they've seen stuff in their phone that they didn't agree with, so they've factory reset to get rid of everything.
Just fate. If they were there, they would have been taking Cheyenne would have got them on the bridge. So they were never there, and that's what they said. The police says they have nothing to do with the crime. All they did was on social media. That's it. They have nothing to do with the crime.
And we realize, that this new transaction came out from HLN, and the transcription of Keegan Klein's conversation. So I got a chance to read that late last night. I don't know. People are asking about what about Tony Klein? Right now, we don't have any connection between Tony Klein and Delphi. We can't put him in Delphi.
Yeah, there's no way you put both of them in Delphi.
Yeah,
No.
because according to Keegan, him and his dad were together all day, the 12th or the 13th, because his dad is his day off. And he said his dad usually slept until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, that's not enough time to get up and go kill somebody and get back and be with your son for the rest of the day.
They would have to drive 80 miles per hour to get to that bridge.
And kill them girls within 5 minutes and then back on the road that quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the situation with Keegan Klein and everything. I mean, I read the transcript too. It's almost like, which is it, Keegan? Your dad was abusive to you, your family when you were kids, and all of a sudden you come out and say, "Oh, me and my dad were super close." You can't have both. It's either one or the other.
Yeah, you don't hear about fathers only being abusive when their kids are young.
Right. Exactly.
And then when they grow up, everything is fine. I don't hear too many stories of that.
And besides this, they on the computer, it would be time stamped, and they would know if they're there where their home is. It would be time stamped on their IP address.
Right, and you would think if they ran Keegan Klein's DNA against whatever they have,
And there was no match.
Yeah, they would have been able to exclude Tony also.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it's just a rabbit hole. I think they're just doing this because a lot of people don't realize they're doing 2 investigations at one time. They're doing the catfishing or the pedophile, that kind of stuff that they're doing. Plus, they're doing the case with Kelsey or Abby and Libby. So they're working 2 cases at one time. State police are.
Well, and you can tell they are because look at how many people have been arrested for this pedophile stuff just in the past month or so.
Right.
And if they keep on finding victims out there, and that's what they're looking for, is the girls who were victimized by Keegan Klein on the computer. That's who they're looking for.
Yeah, so we agree there is a reason law enforcement has, they're watching Tony. We agree there's a reason for it, but what is that reason? Not so much that he did it, but does he know who did it? It's hard to say.
Well, according to what Keegan was saying in the transcript, his dad was into the pedophilia too.
Right.
Yeah.
So they might have been sitting on the house for that reason. Because you got to remember, they raided the house a second time, and like 2 weeks before the HLN special aired in December, they raided Tony's house again.
Yep.
Apparently they didn't come out with nothing because he's out and free. And what's so funny about that is how Keegan was talking about how his dad just basically abandoned him right there after the house got raided the second time.
Yeah.
I look at it this way. If my son was involved with something like that, I'd distance myself from him because I don't want to be brought into it. That's just the way I see it. Now, if his dad's involved with the pedophilia too, he's going to distance himself again from Keegan.
Well, and yes, the police are still watching his house.
Yeah.
And Boo Boo says because he's selling hard drives in Vegas. Duh. And that could very well be.
Right. Yes, Joe, they're still watching this house.
Yep.
And I don't think it has anything to do with pedophiles. I don't think it has anything to do with methamphetamine. I don't believe it. It was just an opportunity for money and greed and power.
Yeah. I agree. Because the people who is kind of like running the town in Delphi, they can basically do whatever they want. And they can, if they didn't need some money, then they wouldn't be in this situation. But they're the ones who control the money, and they can say, well, we need this for the trail. So it is possible that they can borrow the money and change it into going to someplace else.
And
Well,
yes,
right.
and I see somebody talk about a bad foot. Yes, Tony Klein had diabetes, but there is information out there that he had surgeries on both of his feet after the fact of the murders.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's ever said about prior to what his feet were like, or, I mean, Tony was working at Chrysler. If he's got bad feet, I'm sorry, but if you're working in the plant, you can't have bad feet because you do a lot of walking.
Yeah, they're always moving around.
Exactly. Yeah, and I also noticed, yes, I saw that, Raggedy Susan, that today I checked Tony Klein's Facebook page, and all of a sudden there's nothing on his wall but a picture of the green or the red brand new Jeep he bought. No profile pictures, no nothing on there no more. It's basically like he took everything down.
Yeah.
Which is kind of suspicious to me. But then again, we done agreed there is no tie between Tony Klein and Delphi.
Yeah. It's just, I can't find anything. And if they were really there, then the phone would have been in the records from the phone company showing, well, this person was there that day, but there's no nothing showing they were there. And that's the question.
And and any smart person who's going to commit a murder would not bring their phone with them.
Yeah.
Common sense will tell you, do not bring your phone because they're going to ping it.
Mm-hmm. And if he had his phone, it would be there. And they would know exactly, well, they already know who's all there because I've been out there so many times. I have a new phone, and they found my number from those towers. They still can find the burner phone number and go to the company where that phone was purchased at. With that number.
Yeah, but then again, you don't have to register your name for that for a burner phone either.
Yeah, but they can just find the phone number where the phone was purchased. That's all they could do.
Right.
And but they'll know who's been out there that day. Between the two towers, yeah, they know. Call these people's numbers or look them up.
And I do agree. Maybe the clients are being used to draw attention away from the guilty. I think you're correct. They're using that catfishing to make the killer think that they are chasing a catfisher, and he's thinking to himself, well, I'm in the clear, when they're actually on his tail. Who is this calling me on Messenger? That's you.
Okay. Who?
You.
I'm not calling you on Messenger.
Susie Shelton's calling from.
Oh, okay. It's not me. So Jill Mosier says, okay, on transcript says CPS was there. Why would they be there if no children?
It's abandoned building.
Yeah, it was an abandoned building.
Right.
The
It's not.
new office was moved to another location.
Good questions, people. Good questions. Where'd you go, Bruce? Got awful quiet over there.
Let me see here.
So now it sounds like we're gonna go through and give them some history on Delphi and what you guys found out about the founding fathers, and so that's gonna be part 3, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Me and Randy have been talking about it. We just got to draw up the draft of how we're going to do this.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's pretty much going to be a lot of his information. My information was just tying the two families together. When he made the comment, he thought that maybe the McCains had owned Ron Logan's property sometime in the past, and that's what I came to him. I said, "Look what I found," and we tied the two families together. The McCain's great aunt married, which her name was Minnie McCain, married Edwin Baum, which was Daniel Baum, basically the person who started Delphi. Was his great grandfather. So that's how we tied the two families together. So if you think the two families are tied together, they own all that property, everything there.
Yeah,
back in them days.
And the Ballards,
Right.
And they're all married. The Ballards married the Baums or married the McCains.
Right.
So you have 3 powerful family that started Delphi. And Robinson was the very first person to come to Delphi, build like a mill, flour mill, on the side of where Pittsburgh is today. And so between that and it starts growing into that's how Delphi got started.
Because Daniel Baum is the one who bought the very first piece of property. We believe he bought it from the Pakanawi Indian tribe. Is that who it was, Randy?
I got it up here. Let me see here. Let's see here. Charles Carroll and Clinton Carroll County was the first. The French trader around 1670 and 1787. It was an Indian territory. I got the map up here. Where is it? Where the Indians? What was the Indian's name?
Yeah.
It's with a P.
Yeah.
It's a hard word to say, but yeah, it's a long name. But
we know that the Indians owned all that property east of the Monon High Bridge. That's all we know. And what we believe is the McCains owned that property after the Indians did, because the Baums, if you think about it, they were 1.25 miles away from Ron Logan's property. So basically, along that whole creek edge, all the way to Ron Logan's property, the McCains, the Baums, the Ballingers, all owned everything there at one time.
And of course, back then they bought a whole bunch of land for probably $500.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't do that today.
Okay, so Mike Hunter says, was there a man at the cemetery gopher exterminating and witnessed something?
That's the first I've heard of that.
For what? Gopher. Well, the cemetery does have gophers in it. But the guy who's taking care of it, he was one of the searchers who does the cemetery taken care of. But yeah, that cemetery does have gophers in it. You can see gopher holes were made in that cemetery.
Why would the McCains choose Libby as their victim is what Adjust Me Fate is not understanding.
I think the McCains just keeping their hands clean and just try to make their own timeline. But every time I gone out there, I never see them out there. I went several different times. They wasn't even out there. If they said they were supposed to have been out there, I have never saw them.
Hey, Joe, what are you talking about? It says that CPS was the Klein house.
No, that's not the Klein house. CPS was never the Klein house. It was an abandoned building.
Well, she says at me, it says that about CPS being at the Klein house. I've never heard of that one.
No, it's never the Klein house.
And then Boo Boo says, does anyone remember that helicopter that was grounded on Mears or Logan's Field?
During the press conference, the state police and FBI flew in on the helicopter landing on the mayor's property for the press conference.
Which was right outside of the cemetery, wasn't it?
No, it's right where the drop-off was.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
We're getting some thunder here, so that's why we kind of looked at each other weird.
Oh, okay.
Mike
We're
Hunter
just getting
says,
wind. We're just getting wind right now.
Mike Hunter says, the man blowing his horn, as I understand it. I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh, I don't never heard that.
But
Yeah, we're reading through everybody, so be patient with us because there's a lot of people responding here.
yep.
We're trying to get to everybody's questions and try to answer everybody what we can.
So at Diane Ashley, Libby's phone was factory reset a week or so before the crime, and KAK's phone had some apps deleted but not factory reset.
See, that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. I researched this. You can factory reset all you want. You can delete apps all you want. But the server for your phone service holds your information. Anything that you've done on their server is in their server for up to 90 days. You could delete all you want off your phone, but it's in the phone company server what's in there.
Yeah.
You could delete anything you want from your phone. It could still be found.
It's like the computers. If you raise something, they can go in and find it. It's always here.
It's always in the hard drive. And as for phones, you can bust it up all you want, but they can go back to the phone company and get a warrant for their server to track the number that they're looking into.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Why was it rumored in the beginning that the kill site was in the Mears barn?
Somebody thought that's where it was because they thought the bodies were in that barn, and they made sure they kept the body inside. But the person who put the flowers, I know who the person who put the flowers there, but really wasn't. The bodies wasn't even there. There was no sign of blood or anything like that. Any clues the girls were in that barn across from Ron Logan's house.
Okay. Okay, so CPS in the transcript, when they were reading it last night, Keegan said that a CPS worker showed up at their home.
Huh. I don't remember reading that.
Me neither.
Why would they send CPS out there when you got two grown adults living there?
We had her Abby's dad lives in there. Becky and Mike lived in there, and then you got, of course, Kelsey and them.
No, they're talking about at Keegan's and Tony's house in Peru.
Oh,
is what Jill's asking.
Okay, so I am looking at the document. Here, I'll share my screen. Oh.
You just downloaded it.
Okay, I'm downloading it. Hang on. So I'm just going to do a Control F here. and I did a search for CPS, and I'm not coming up with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that transcript didn't mean a whole lot to me last night at all when I was reading it, and it was just almost like Keegan was trying to basically take all the heat off of him and putting it on somebody closest to him.
Yeah. And another thing is, he's already got 30 items on his docket about what he's in prison, jail for. So, he's not going anywhere. But it's surely knowing that he would make a deal to eliminate some of those rests that he's got on him.
See, and I don't agree. I don't believe any word he said about that either. Because if you're looking at 30 major felonies, you're looking at life in prison without parole. They're not going to get just to sidestep everything and give you probation. That is not going to happen when it comes against crimes against children. That is not going to happen. Indiana is very well known for locking these people up and not letting them out.
Well, I know the court hearing here lately that Chad and another lady in Lafayette, Indiana, is wanting to go back to court to remove some of the charges of lifetime.
Right. And I also noticed today that the trial has been set for Keegan. It's in September of this year. So it looks like that authorities are still trying to get him to pinpoint somebody, give them information or something.
Yeah.
And he made it very clear last night that I don't know what you want me to tell you guys. I don't have no information for you. He begged them to give a lie detector test, and they were giving him the runaround.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that I see in this document is GPS, not CPS.
Jill said, hold on, I'll find it. Where'd it go?
It says, I don't know. I really don't know, but they got me for obstruction of justice for that. There was a woman that I talked to there, and her name was Tracy. It started with K, but she was with a child protective something.
Okay.
So that could have been what they were kind of like talking about.
Yeah, there's no reason for CPS to be out that house when you got two grown men living there.
Yeah.
Or unless they wanted to make sure there was no children there while they were doing their thing. You know what I mean?
That
Keegan and his dad. Yeah. They just wanted to make sure there was no children there when they went there with the police.
Basically, Chadwell checking the house, and luckily they heard that little child in the basement.
Exactly.
Right.
They didn't want to run into a situation like that they did with Chadwell, so they took CPS with them just in case.
Yeah.
That's what it sounds like to me.
All right, let's go back to the comments here. What was this? The stepsister?
A keen
Was
stepsister.
Was she underage?
I don't know, but we know he used her name. And
Is that the Emily Ann?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah, CPS could be involved in his pedo case since it involves children. That
Correct.
could be.
Yes. Yes. What's up with them taking the dog? Well, it almost sounds like to me, Sandy, that they took the dog because they possibly could have found hair either on Libby or Abby, dog hair. It's the only thing I could think of why they would take the dogs.
If you have a dog, you'll have dog hair on your own clothes and transfer it to on one of the bodies. Yeah, it will be
right. It's going to be
they
contact.
Yes, they even took Chadwell's dog too. They got to get hair off of it.
Yep.
And that's how Chadwell got that little girl into his house, because one of the dogs.
Mm-hmm. All right, gentlemen. You want to wrap up for tonight, and we'll work on part 3?
Yep. It was good. It was a good live tonight, guys. Thanks, guys, for coming out and asking questions.
Yeah, great questions.
If there's any more questions, you could direct it to Marvelous's webpage. And I'll link to her webpage, and Lynn C's a link to her webpage. And if you got questions for Randy, everybody knows his channel.
Yep.
There you go again, Mark, tearing up stuff.
What are you doing?
There goes that phone again.
He's trying to tell you, Mom, I need a new phone.
No, he doesn't. He
Put that
doesn't.
phone someplace else.
I'm telling you, if he breaks this iPhone, he's getting a flip phone.
Oh,
it's a Star Trek flip phone. Okay, that'd be good.
Yeah, the dinosaur age phone.
His brain fell out. Is that what happened there, Sandy? All right, then. Exactly. But yeah, me and Randy will get together and we'll get these script ready for you there, Marv. And like I said, mine won't be very long. Mine is just the connection between the bombs and the McCains. He basically did everything else.
Oh, okay. We got one question here. Still confused. Who are the 3 you all are focused on that the McCain bros and who? So the 3 are the McCain brothers,
the professor,
and the professor.
And I still believe
archaeologist.
And there's a possibility there could be a 4th person. We're still looking into that.
There's got to be there. We figure
there might be a 5th, but
there's somebody who is out there that day that is nobody's brought up, and they know they saw him out there. They just don't want to bring him up.
Yeah.
We already that if you watched the video earlier, we had already spoke to True Crime Jesus, and he gave us permission to take some clips from his video, and we broke it down on what we noticed with the Doug Carter and the things he was saying. So I had to do background search to make sure everything was correct on what True Crime Jesus is, because you got some people out here are just putting stuff out here just to get the subs on their channel. So
True Crime Jesus.
Right. What I did is I went back. I went back and verified everything he put in there just to be safe on that part. And yes, he had it broken down, but the only thing that I really did was got an update version of the map, which showed where
the gravel pit
would be today on Ron Logan's property.
It's all trees and and dirt now.
Right. So, but it is 10:40.
Yep. I hope you guys are enjoying this thinking outside the box. We're going to continue on with this. This is probably going to be a weekly session. And like I said, just because we're throwing this theory out there doesn't mean it's true. We don't have true facts that they are definitely involved in this. We're just throwing it out there, trying to get people to think outside the box and not just hear something and jump on that train and go with it.
That was the reason
So-
why I brought this up to you, Marv, because I noticed that when I started digging into the history of Delphi, and then I started doing more, and you sent me that message, hey, I need you to check out these videos. And when I pulled up Lucifer's Playground and that map, that was the perfect thing I was looking for to try to compare to the history. And then it led us to more information, more and more information. So, and the reason why I wanted to go back, because like I said, he did these videos over 3 years ago and no one followed up with them. As soon as the Keegan Klein thing broke on the news, everybody jumped on that bandwagon and left what he had put out there to the side and was like, his shit don't make no sense. Well, if you think about it, use critical thinking, it does make sense.
Right. And Boston, to answer your question, if you go back through my videos, there is an outside the box part 1 live stream that the 3 of us did. And then earlier tonight, there was a part 2 video for Outside the Box, and then along with this live stream. So
There's also a playlist that we created that I added all the videos to.
oh, wonderful.
Okay.
What's
that
this,
should be
Boston,
public.
about the gravel pit? Hey, Boston, what you asking about the gravel pit?
The gravel pit is right. If you're at the bottom of the cemetery, you're standing right in front of the gravel pit.
Yeah, it goes all the way up to the cemetery to the creek.
You can't fall through into the pit because it's all been
Dirt.
covered over by dirt and trees and
yeah.
grass and everything. Basically, what we're showing you guys is that the area where Abby and Libby were found, and you've seen that in pictures. It's got trees and trees on the ground, and all that. That is where the gravel pit was. So it's all closed over, and there's dirt and trees and bushes and whatever else, flowers out there.
Yeah.
So
yep.
Basically, I have filmed that area at the cemetery, and it showed where you could be able to see where the gravel pit was, where we're talking about.
Okay.
All right. Till next time, guys. Part 3 coming. Can't give an exact date, but me and Randy will get on top of it as soon as possible and get it over to Marv so she can do what she's got to do. And so just remember that we do behind the scenes work for her because she works a full-time job every day, guys. So it takes a little longer for her to get things done. So we have to work. We have to work around her schedule, basically.
Yeah.
There goes that thunder again.
Better you in Wisconsin than in Indiana.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be slippery tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I won't be going outside walking around tomorrow. That's for sure.
But
Well, thank you everybody for joining us. We love it when you come and talk to us and ask questions and throw your 2 cents in there. That's how we bounce ideas off of each other, and that's what's going to help get this solved.
Just remember, guys, everything that we talk about is not, how should I say, it's our opinion.
Right.
There are facts that we have verified. Yes. A lot of the stuff that we cover, we have verified the facts on them. We would never put false information out here.
Let's see. Boston, you asked me, can you put in canoes there? Yeah, you could put canoes.
Yeah.
Yep.
They do canoes, paddle boards, everything.
Yeah, we were there. We saw 2 guys on a surfboard thing, and they were fishing, and the fish was sitting on the surfboard, and they were paddling through underneath the bridge and going south.
And they had some pretty big fish that day,
Yeah.
too.
Surprising. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where did they get that fish? I never see those fish that big in the creek.
But guys, stay tuned for part 3. It'll be about the property and the history of Delphi again with me, Randy, and Marvelous.
Yep.
Like I said, Randy is pretty knowledgeable about the properties. I just put 2 and 2 together when it came to the families. That's how I connected the properties with the families, and Randy did most of the rest of the research on that. So, but basically he's shooting information to me and I'm researching it and verifying what he's saying and vice versa.
Yep.
So, but if anybody's got any questions, you all know how to contact Marv, Randy, and myself. Don't be afraid to shoot us a question. Even if it's a negative question, we won't get mad because everybody's got their own opinions.
Right.
Everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Somebody's walking by.
Oh yeah, it's the dogs out here. And my dog's going nuts.
I hear the dogs in the background.
Oh, we got little Pomeranians that live a couple doors down, and he goes nuts over them little things.
His girlfriend.
So, all right, guys. Well, y'all have a good night.
Yep, you too.
All right, you too.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
so much.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.